Hey, how's it going everyone? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing a tutorial on how I do my drums. Now, if you ever listened to some of my different tracks, you'll know the drums can be quite different within these different tracks. So today the drums I'm going to be showing you are actually taken from the project for my track Run It, which you can go and check out on Spotify, SoundCloud, my YouTube, all of those places. But yeah, I just figured I'd take just the drums on their own and kind of talk through the process of how I went about doing them, just to get, it's kind of like a darker bassline sound, but really aggressive as well, and just, yeah, talk through how I made the drums, as in mixing them all together and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, so first of all, if we jump into the track here, so this is the project for Run It, so the actual Run It thing. Oops. Yeah, if you've not had a listen, go and have a listen. But yeah, so here's the actual drums just in isolation from this track. Oops. So yeah, you can hear that they're quite heavy bassline drums, kind of typical of like this darker bassline style, but I like to feel that I've kind of pushed it a bit more, made it a bit more aggressive, especially the kick is really like distorted and over the top. So yeah, I guess having shown you that, the first thing it makes sense to go into is in this track. This is something I hadn't done before, but I did it just for this track, just because I thought, oh, that might work well, and it did. So I've got two different kick samples. Well, actually, it's the same kick sample, but in FL. So just double click on that there. You can adjust like the amount. It's called out. It just kind of makes it quieter, and because I got the trim turned up, it will cut it down. But if I turn that off, you can see what it's doing there. It's just kind of like taming the end of the kick down. So I've got the first one there. I'll trim back up. So the first one's there about a quarter of the way up, and then if we go into the other kick, it's not been changed at all. So yeah, it's literally just the full original sample. I've trimmed it down, but that's literally just a bit of silence at the end. It's just to make it easier within the project to work with, rather than just having annoying long kick tails everywhere. It just looks annoying, but that's not a big deal. But within the track, it just alternates between them. So within the, you can see the mixer here, I've got a bunch of different routing going on. So the kicks go onto this kick and clap bus, which then goes onto an all drums bus, which then goes onto the master, which also has processing on. If I turn, so that's what it sounds like without any processing whatsoever. Drastically different. So yeah, I guess the main thing here is in this kick and clap bus. I mean, also we have a bunch of stuff in here, but I'll get onto that in a minute. But within, because if you look at the actual mixer tracks for the individual kick samples, they don't have anything on. Like this has a clipper and an EQ, but I've turned them off just because they weren't even, oh, that was slightly doing something, but I guess I turned that off because I didn't need it. But yeah, they're going into here, and this has saturation knob, which is an amazing plugin. It literally is just saturation. So what's this on here? 0.41, sorry. So if I turn this off, you can hear they just sound like normal kick samples. But when this is turned on, it sounds ridiculous. Like that second kick on its own sounds excessively distorted. But within the context of the track, well, I like to think it works. So I'll let you make your own opinion on that. But yeah, so this, as I said, this is a kick and clap bus. So we've got the kicks here, and I'll go on to the claps. So we've got this first one. So it's kind of like a pretty driven clap already. I just turned off the effects here. It was really wide in stereo as well, which isn't really what you want. So I turned that down to mono there. And then on here, we've just got Camel Crusher, which is a great plugin. Literally just the stock one. I'm not even sure if I changed any of these at all, but I just turned it on and it sounded great. And then we've got this low cut and a bit of a top end boost, because you, especially after distorting the sample, you don't want that annoying like messed up low end just feeding into everything, because if you, it's just going to mess everything up and it's unnecessary. And then we've also got the second sample, which I've just made quite mono, and also a similar EQ shape here, again taking off the low end. It doesn't have any distortion on this one just because I didn't think it needed it. It's just something you can experiment with on the claps to see, like try it with and without and just see if you think it needs it. So then we've got these claps which are going, okay, I have a clap bus, but only one of the claps is going into it, and this is just taking off a bit of the high ends. Now this routing doesn't make sense, so yeah, this is just how I work. It doesn't always make sense, but this one clap has got a bit of the top end taken off. If I was doing this now, I would just take it off in here because it's unnecessary extra routing and stuff, but whatever. And then yeah, that's going straight into the bus. So basically these two claps are going into the same bus as the kicks, and they're being combined in here, and this saturation, it kind of merges them together and it will like distort the kick with the clap. So if I play it, and now without saturation, it really helps to merge it together. And part of the reason why I've got these alternating kicks is because the louder kick hits at the same time as the claps. And when you've got a kick that's loud, like really loud, you can mess around with how loud you want it, but I tend to find you want it a little louder to make it merge well with the claps. When you add the saturation, it just distorts it and glues it all together nicely. And then the other samples we've got here are the hats. So this is just a shaker. What have we got on here? A clipper plugin. Which mostly, to be honest, I think that's just making it louder. So what you can do is you can just use Fruity Compressor, turn the gain up if you need that. And then we've got an EQ, taking out the low end, and it looks like there must have been some ridiculous high end in here, so I'll turn this off. Okay, not too much. I guess it's just because with the darker bassline sounds, it is often you want to kind of take some of the high end out of drums and stuff, just because of the way it is as a genre. That's just kind of the done thing, I guess. And these must just have been automated throughout the track, so you can ignore this love filter. But this one here, SVF, is basically a low pass filter. So I'll play this with and without. And you can hear, again, it's just taking off some of that top end, which works well in this genre, like the dark bass genre, because, like I said, you kind of tend to have not as much high end in these instruments, like the basses and the drums and everything. And then we've also got another hat that's just been layered with the, I guess it's a shaker sample, the first one. But yeah, we've got this other hat that's been layered with it. And we've just got a low cut on there, and then together. And then these, you'll notice that these hats are being routed to the all drums bus, so they're not being like really heavily saturated in this kick and clap bus, because you don't need that. So they're going to this all drums bus. Oh, I should mention as well, in terms of finding samples for like dark bass stuff, mainly the kicks and the hats, looking at trap and drill drum samples, you can find some really cool samples that work really well for this genre, so like nice thuddy kicks. So if I turn off all this processing, so this is what it sounded like originally. So yeah, just looking for samples like that can work well, and also these shaker samples in dark bass work really well, I think. And I'm sure this came from a drill or trap sample pack on Splice. I might be wrong, it might actually be a drum and bass sample pack, but you can find them in either with these. But yeah, trap sample packs are good for kicks. And then we've got all of these different bits going into the all drums bus that I've got here. Now again, like I said, my mixing and routing is kind of messy, but on here we've just got some compression. that just kind of helps to glue stuff together, so it really helps bring out the hats. Like you hear, when that's turned on and off, the hats just get raised up in volume, and it helps make everything more equal. And it just help, yeah, glue everything together. Compression is a hard thing to get your head around, but basically in this, what it's doing is, if you imagine all of this like playing along, without the compressor, the kicks and the claps in terms of volume, like they'll be up here and the hats are down there. So what it does is it brings the kicks and the claps down so that everything is at this same volume, and then turns it all up. So it stays at the original volume of the kicks and the claps, because you turn the kicks and the claps down to the same volume as the hats, and then everything gets raised up to that original volume. So that's like a basic thing of how compression works, and especially in this instance. And then we also again have another love filter on SVF. I don't know what that stands for, but it's a low pass filter, so it's cutting off that little bit of high end, so I'll play it with and without. Especially on the hats there, you can hear it makes quite a big difference, because like the hats are quite a high end, like top end heavy sound. And then onto the master. Now I use, anyone who knows anything about mastering is probably going to hate me now, but literally on this track I was using JST Clip on the master. This is an amazing plugin. It's about 40 quid I think, but I reckon it's well worth the money. And it's a clipper, and I use it to like push the track really hard. So what I do in my workflow is I try and get everything sounding exactly how I want it in the mix, and then just having this on the master really helps glue everything together, make it nice and loud, and it just works well overall. But like I said, anyone who knows anything about mastering probably hates me right now, but I mean, it works and I think it sounds good, and I think people seem to agree. So yeah, so I'll play this with and without, because the main thing you will notice is the volume difference. So yeah, you can hear that it's like pushing everything more, making it sound more aggressive and more distorted. Now what you can do, if you don't want to pay for that, is there's a soft clipper plugin. I've not experimented with this much at all inside of FL. I literally just put it on for this tutorial, just to try and come up with an alternative. People who don't want to buy the JST Clip plugin. But what you can do is just push these. I'll turn this back up. And yeah, it really helps to just push it and give it that much more aggression, and then it's limited quite aggressively here. So yeah, a lot of people might hate me for this style of mixing and stuff, but like I said, it works within the track. Because if I play the overall track, and this is with the, I'll put it back onto Clipper. You can really hear what it's doing there. I should also mention as well, as the final thing, what I like to do is I often use this same crash sample, which is lazy of me, but it's just a crash, and then I grab stereo delay, so I turn this down to there, just because that's how I like it. Pan it left and right and set it to ping pong, so it will go like right, left on each delay. Turn the level down and the output down, and then also an EQ. And then we also have this like shaker loop sample. So that kind of, you can bring it in halfway through a drop, for instance, to add variation to it. So if I go from here, you'll hear the first thing, the first like drum loop, and then where this comes in, just to help vary it a bit more. It's quite subtle, but within the track it can make quite a big difference. So yeah, that was my drum mixing tutorial. I hope you enjoyed. So let me know what other tutorials you want to see down in the description. As well, make sure you follow me on Instagram, because soon I'm going to be doing a Patreon, which is where I'll be announcing that mainly. So make sure you follow on there to see it. I'll be doing a full track breakdown of Run It, along with a bunch of other tutorials, sample packs, other just cool stuff. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye.